Heil sends a shockwave down I-81. It ain't over till it's over at the Ridge. A couple of veterans finally make their way to victory lane. Woo, baby, it's gonna be a hot one. Race Pro Weekly, let's fire it up. Hello and welcome to RPW. I'm your host, Mike Warren. With many Dirt Series regulars in the field weekly at Brewerton, that feeling of an upset is tough to come by. Would last Friday night be different? To the D-shaped Dirt Demon we go. Mod Light action, car goes around, and somehow everybody misses it. Woo, baby, that was close. Modified feature out onto the speedway as leading him up would be the 55 of Matt Holsizer up into turn number 1 and 2 as he would take him out on the outside lane looking to hold on to the race lead as Jim Whitko worked his way underneath him and Chris Heil sitting there in spot number 3. Wouldn't be long before Heil will put a slide job on Thomas Edison style up at turn number 2. He'd get a little out of shape that time and bobble through the corner but get right back on the throttle and keep the race lead rolling as Sears looking to catch him down into turn number 1 and 2 that time. 3-wide battle now between Vic Coffey, Larry White, and Matt Shepard for position. They go 4-wide with Jimmy Whitko off the corner. Whitko makes a little contact with Larry White, and Matt Shepard going to be the benefactor here as he's going to take that spot down the back straightaway. But at the front of the field, no one stopping Chris Heil as he picks up the upset win at Brewerton. Jimmy Phelps would finish in second, Matt Shepard third, Tom Sears Jr. fourth, and X marks the spot. Chad Phelps going to finish in fifth. So far on the season at Glen Ridge, 3 races, 3 winners. Would we see a fourth? To the Ridge we go as we have some pro stock action on the horizon. Here's Nick Stone working to the inside as Jason Morrison going to go around in the truck in turn number 2. The Manimal would bring home his first win of the season up on the Ridge as he would take home the victory in the pro stock feature event. Modified feature now, let's see the 959 of Johnny Lutz. Going to lead him up into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time as Richie Price and Elton Palmer come together down the backstretch. Front end would break on the 23 machine, and that would end his night. The 959 of Lutz would take over back at the front of the field in this one as they continue to work their way up through as Craig Hansen and Bobby Varon now cracking the top 5 very early in this feature event. Jeremy Wilder in there as well. As now here comes Jeff Rockefeller working to the inside of the 959 machine, trying to take the race lead away on the inside. Willie Decker and Bobby Vetter going to go side by side down the back stretch as Decker going to make quick work of him down the back straightaway as the caution will come out for the 47 of Brian Nelson on the inside of turn number 3 and 4. And Willie Decker going to come in and he's going to change a right rear sneaker. He'd have to restart from the rear of the field now as Craig Hansen gets by Bobby Varon down the back straightaway for spot number 3 as they continue to work their way through the corner. Here's Wilder working to the inside lane as Sean Pangman almost goes over the hill. Wouldn't be the first time the 34 almost went down there. Trust me on that one. And not when Pangman was driving. Either way, it would be Lutz taking the race lead again as things get a little crazy up in between turn number 1 and 2 with Vetter, Hansen, and McCoy spinning out as Lutz would regain control of the lead once again down the front straightaway as he would look to hold on, but here comes the 00 of Bobby Varon. Varon works his way into the runner-up spot, getting by the 816 to Jeff Rockefeller, and then would go to work on Johnny Lutz on the inside and go underneath him. He'd be your new race leader. But as they come to the white flag, Varon gets a right rear flat tire. He would try to milk it home, but Lutz sniffing one out as he get right by him and look to take the race lead away as the 959 would take the checkered flag for win number 1 on the season. However, when Lutz crossed the scales, it turned up he did come up light, and that would give the win to Jeff Rockefeller. We move to the sportsman feature now as Happy Harry Schaefer would take the early race lead as they work their way through. Spirited battle between Rocky Warner and the 18 of Tony Ferrone as they would go at it as the 1J trying to, well, I don't think he's trying to buy any onions from him as he works his way on the inside, but Happy Harry way out in front of this one in that number 21 machine as he would take home the victory, picking up the win in the sportsman division. Happy Harry, always a happy man as he picks up the win. Modified feature top 5 would be Rockefeller picking up the victory. Hohenforce would finish in second. Jeremy Wilder third. Bobby Barron still in the top 5, finishes fourth. And Willie Decker would be fifth. Other winners on the night, as you saw on the Sportsman and Pro Stocks, it was Harry Schaefer and Nick Stone respectively, and Chris Andrew picking up the win in the Cruisers. It's now time for this week's Kaiser Aluminum Wheels fan poll question, which is, do you prefer a bull ring like Accord or a big speedway like Lebanon Valley? To cast your answers, head to facebook.com/RaceProWeekly, and we'll read the answers on next week's show. Let's go back to last week's question, which was, do you like midweek shows with just regular classes in action, just like Utica Rome had last Thursday? Well, it pretty much came right down the middle. 53% said they like the special shows a little bit better, but hey, that only means 47% said they agree with the regular classes. Coming up on Race Pro Weekly, we head to the Great Race Place where the Modifieds were rocking as usual, and we'll roll down to the hard clay to see who had some momentum in the big blocks when we return.
I'm Brian from 1-800-GOT-JUNK. This is my main man Tom and my other main man Tom.
You never know how much junk you've got until you move.
Point to something you wish would disappear.
Would it be possible to... It's gone!
All you have to do is point.
Where have you been all my life?
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
There's only one place in the Capital Region for you to get the full racing action. Stop down at the Bobco video booth at the track or call 518-399-0937. Bobco Racing Video, the next best thing to being there.
If you're like me, your to-do list never ends. But with just one phone call, I protect my home, family, pets, and yard all year round. With Northeast Pest Control's Premier Home Protection Program, I don't have to worry about bugs and pests, and I don't have to worry about harsh chemicals either. Now how about that want to-do list? Thanks, Northeast Pest Control.
Ants, termites, mice, or bees, call today for your free estimate.
With Northeast Pest Control, we guarantee you'll live pest-free.
Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly as we head to Orange County Fair Speedway with some sportsman action. Oh, baby, up in the air and over goes Tommy Vi. He would be okay, but wow, what a ride in between turn number 1 and 2. Wow, looks like he's all right. Green flag would come out in the modified feature event as Steve Dobb would lead the field to the green, and the number 88 machine working his way up into turn number 1 and 2. As the cars race their way down the back straightaway on the hard clay, Jerry Higbee on the move on the outside lane, looking to take the number 4 spot away, as Gary Edwards would follow in the number 2 spot. Keep an eye on Stuart Friesen to the inside of Bob McGannon for spot number 3 as they work their way down the backstretch. Here comes the Hummer International machine. Give it a little hip check heading into turn number 3, but he grabbed that spot away off of the corner. Car gets out of shape in turn number 2. That's going to be the 25 of Mike Holka. That would bring the caution out onto the speedway. Off the restart, cars on the move down the back straightaway as Billy Van Imogen looks for position, along with Hollywood Craig Mitchell, as Tommy Meyer goes on the outside, but makes contact with Van Imogen and goes around. The cars will continue to ride as Edwards looking for a shot at Steve Dodd down the back straightaway, but Dodd will continue to pull away, working their way into turn number 3 and 4, and this spirited battle was back on for spot number 3 as McGannon got back by Stuart Friesen for position as the caution will come out for Jeremy Markle in the OB car. Stuart Friesen working past McGannon again, looking to the inside of Gary Edwards that time for the number 2 spot down the back straightaway. As on his way up through the field as well was the 3 of LJ Lombardo, as you see him side by side with Matt Janiak working his way up through turn number 1 and 2. Here's Mitchell down the back straightaway right there with McGannon looking for the spot as Van Imogen comes to a stop off of turn number 2, and then off the restart, here's Higbee working up to the top side, trying to take the number 2 spot away down the backstretch, but both Edwards and Friesen just too strong as they would keep that spot now as another car working its way up would be once again LJ Lombardo on the outside lane as he looks to go around Richie Urick for the spot. Going to give McGannon a little tap on the backstretch. Oh, by the way, Steve Dodd's still way out in front of this one as he picks up the win at Middletown. Second will be Gary Edwards Jr. Stuart Friesen would have to finish in 3rd, Jerry Higbee 4th, and Jimmy Horton would finish in 5th. Last week at Albany Saratoga, defending champion Kenny Tremont struck gold in a modified feature win. Could he do the same this week, or would the rest of the cream rise to the top? It was Albany Saratoga Speedway's annual bike giveaway this past Friday night. 94 bikes given away to children from a raffle, and what a great job the drivers did donating at the Albany Saratoga Speedway. Now to the modified division, 35 laps to see who would take home this feature event as Jimmy Nagel would take the early race lead. Hector Stratton in the 273 on the move as he'd work his way past Brian Whittemore for position. Brett Hearn and Matt DiLorenzo working their way past Whittemore as well as DiLorenzo riding up on the top side. Take a look at Matty D way up on the outside, looking to get past Stratton down the front straightaway as Hearn would look to follow behind him. Battle for the race lead starting to ensue as here comes Jesse Mueller to the inside lane of Jimmy Nagel trying to take the race lead away down the front stretch. He'd get him in turn number 1 and 2. Mark Keselowski looking to follow as a little bit of a jumble on the backstretch. Meanwhile, Mark Keselowski working his way up on the top side, trying to get by Mueller, and Brett Hearn going to get by Nagel and DiLorenzo for third. Keselowski would grab the race lead away from Mueller, but overshoot the corner just enough to go over the banking, and that would put a dent into his chances for winning the feature event. That will put Brett Hearn next to Jesse Mueller on the restart. Matty D working to the inside, trying to get by Hearn as well, but Jesse Mueller doing a great job holding the 20 of Hearn off as they worked their way through the north side of the speedway that time, as the caution will come out for Cass Bennett and Ricky Davis. Elmo Reckner involved as well as the 72 of Bennett going off of the purple wrecker and back into the infield. Brett Hearn still trying to get by young gun Jesse Mueller up at turn number 4. This time he'd pull even with him, and up into turn number 1 and 2. The Jet would be your new race leader as he's looking for his first win in the 2016 season at Albany Saratoga. The heavy hitters were starting to follow right behind him, though, as here comes Stuart Friesen and Kenny Tremont as Matty D slips up off the banking, losing a couple of positions down the backstretch. Mark Johnson working his way just outside the top 5 as he gets by Neil Stratton as well down the front stretch. Stuart Friesen going to try to lurk behind the 19 of Jesse Mueller as he would swing out wide and get by him for the number 2 spot, trying to run down your race leader. Tremont wouldn't waste any time either as he'd get by him for third and go to work on Friesen for second, but they seem to have nothing for Brett Hearn as for the first time in 2016, the Jet lands in victory lane at Albany Saratoga. Friesen would have to settle for second once again. Kenny Tremont would finish third. Don Rocca with a great run coming home in fourth. And Mark Johnson keeps his consistency rolling as he'll finish in spot number 5. Accord Speedway was back in action once again last Friday as no driver has won twice so far this season. Would that trend continue? Down to the Ulster County Bull Ring we go, and there's a tire on the racetrack. And there's the car it's to. Oh boy, not having a left rear, that's not good. Rookie Sportsman feature Jim Krause going to bring it up at turn number 3 and 4, looking for the checkered flag, but spins it in the corner. That's going to get Ty Sherlock the win for the first ever time at the Speedway. Modified feature event, the Iceman, Dom Roselli, going to lead the field to the green as Joe Judge comes to a stop, collecting a number of cars up in between turn number 3 and 4. As we get back to green flag racing, it would still be Roselli at the front of the field as cars work their way down the back straightaway. Danny Creedon to the inside of Showtime Danny Tyler through turn number 3 and 4 as they continue to ride up off at turn number 2. Richie Urich up into the number 5 spot, trying to work his way through as Roselli continued to lead this one, but Rich Rickey Jr. in the 406 right behind him, putting all the pressure he can on him to work his way through the field. And meanwhile, Richie Urich and Mike Rickey going at it off at turn number 2. Back to the battle for the lead, though, as Rich Rickey now going to try to go to the inside lane as Roselli slipped up the banking a little bit, and that was enough for the chairman of the board to slide to the inside lane as Rich Rickey would be your new race leader. Perego and Creedon put it on a spirited battle down the back straightaway this time as they continue to ride through turn number 3 and 4, trying to figure out who would take that position. It would be the 55 of Perego pulling away with Urich right in front of him, but the caution would then come out onto the speedway for the 14 of Ryan Wood, and that would re-rack the field. Here comes Creedon going to work on Perego once again off at turn number 2. He'll try to pull even with him down the back straightaway, but just can't do it. Meanwhile, Ricky way out in front of this one as he would bring him through turn number 3 and 4 for the final time and pick up the win, his second of the season at Accord. Dom Roselli would finish in second, Jesse Marks third, Mike Rickey fourth, and Richie Urich would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Sportsman would go to Jimmy Wells, Bobby Butler in the wingless sprints, Bob Slate in the pure stocks, Ty Sherlock, as you saw before, in the rookie Sportsman, junior slingshots to Hunter Lapp, and Samantha Muller picking up the win in the slingshots. When we come back, we go north of the border to check in on Meritville. And we'll return to Central New York as we move to Fulton. That and more coming up on RPW. Reputable, reliable, results. That's what you get when you call Rick and the professionals at RCT Roofing. Quality service at fair prices. RCT gets the job done. Just like Nick Stone and the RCT Pro Stock. RCT Roofing, we've got you covered. Performance. Quality. Service. That's DMC Racing Products. Hundreds of name brand parts. Competitive prices. That's DMC. DMC Racing Products. Race to win.
Looking for outstanding service for your car, truck, or SUV? Speed's Garage is a family-run business providing the highest quality of auto care. From routine maintenance, brakes, engine, body, or paint work, you can trust the professionals at Speed's Garage. Speed's Garage has all the auto service you need, plus full towing for any vehicle. For a championship service, go to Speed's Garage in Mellonville.
Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly as we go to the Meritville Speedway Sportsman action here as you see the 8S of Justin Sharp go up in smoke. Meanwhile, it would be Brad Rouse working on the 16, driven by Brent Bigelow as he works his way on the outside lane, but Rouse too strong in this one as he picks up the victory. Heading to the modifieds now, Mike Bowman and Wayne Kahn going to lead the field up through turn number 1 and 2, and Bowman shoots out like a rocket down the back straightaway to take the early race lead as some cars scramble along the back of the field as that would re-rack everything. And off the restart, here comes Tyler McPherson trying to get to the inside of the 71 of Bowman, but Bowman would drive away. Chris Steele and Wayne Kahn going at it for spot number 4 now as Kahn works his way through. Here comes Ryan Soucies in the 19 machine there as well as Kahn ducks underneath the 777 machine. Chris Steele working on the inside, and here comes Eric Rudolph working just outside the top 5 in the 62 machine, trying to get to the front. CB3 going to turn it up on the outside lane as Champ Brockman works his way around Tommy Flanagan as well down the front straightaway, but Brockman goes around, and that would bring out the caution. Off of the restart, Mike Bowman taking control again, but Eric Rudolph going to split the middle, down the back straightaway. Clowns to the left, Jokers to the right, and here is Rudolph stuck in the middle with you as he rides his way up through turn number 1 and 2 to get into second. Now ducks underneath the 71 of Mike Bowman, and he'd be your new race leader going down the front straightaway. While that happens, Tommy Flanagan and Todd Gordon get together in turn number 4, and then off of the restart, Mike Bowman going to go right to the runner-up spot, getting by the 19 of Soucies that time, and here comes Mr. Smallblock working his way on the inside lane as well, as he would get into spot number 3, getting by Soucy, and then make his way past the 71 of Mike Bowman, looking for the number 1 spot, and he was a charging, ladies and gentlemen. Working his way on the inside lane, trying to run down Rudolph. He'd get as close as the back bumper that time. As we go back, Gary Lindbergh looking to get into the top 5 along with Mark Delario. And Mark Delario, keep an eye on this battle. 3 wide between Lindbergh, Soucies, and Delario as they beat and bang down the back straightaway. What a battle for that position as they come through off of turn number 4 that time. But Eric Rudolph way out in front of this one. And you were not catching them, ladies and gentlemen, as Rudolph picks up the win up north of the border at Meritville. Bicknell would finish in second. Bowman would come home third. Ryan Soucy's fourth, and Mark Delario would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Brad Rouse, as you saw, got the win in the Sportsman. Novice Sportsman going to Chris Waters. Josh Slater in the Mod Lights. Hoosier Stocks to Dave Bailey. And 4 Cylinders to Kyle Rothwell. Last week at Fulton, it was a heartbreaker for Andrew Ferguson as he had a great run going till the closing laps when he lost the lead to Tim Sears Jr. Would we see another heartbreaker on the horizon? Back to Central New York, we go to Fulton, and boy, was it a carnage night here at the High Banks. As things get together on the Sportsman feature, cars going to scatter all the way down the front straightaway, going around a few hits to the outside wall as well, and they weren't done either. Take a look at the late models getting into the implement tire. A number of cars go around. Oh boy, a rough night at the Fulton Speedway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, modified feature would be out, and it would be the 57 of Willie Decker having the early lead. Caitlin Heil says, I don't think so, Willie. As she'd work to the inside lane and try to get the lead back off at turn number 4, she knows out ahead, drag racing down the front stretch, and click off the lap as your leader, but that 57 working the top side as Decker would go back to the front. Meanwhile, Chuck Bauer works his way into spot number 3. Fast forward to later in the race, here comes the Genoa Giant, Pat Ward, working to the inside of Decker for the race lead off at turn number 2. But Decker's still too strong as the rest of the field starts to bear down. Here's Chris Heil, Jimmy Phelps, and Larry White, 3 wide down the back straightaway. And a pair of red cars would start to bear down on your race leader here with just 1 to go in this one. As Willie Decker looking to hang on. Final time through the corner. Here's Ward to the top side, but Willie Decker too strong on the inside as he would pick up the win at the Fulton Speedway. Larry White would get Ward at the line for second. The Genoa Giant would have to settle for third. Jimmy Phelps fourth, and Chris Heil with a great weekend coming home fifth at Fulton to back up his win at Brewerton. Sportsman would go to Ron Davis the third. Chris Fleming grabbing the win in the late models. Novice sportsman Rachel Zacharias in feature number 1. Tori Stuffginger in feature number 2. Jeremy Isabel in the mod lights, and Ray Beckler in the 4 cylinders. Back to Albany Saratoga we go for the Mark Hughes Memorial Feature event, but first, the DMA USAC Midgets were in town. Adam Pearson going around Kevin Chafee on the outside lane, and he would go on to pick up that feature event win. Now to the 26-lap Sportsman Division feature for the Mark Hughes Memorial, as bringing him up into turn number 1 and 2 would be Mike Coffey, but things would get a little out of shape early. Jack Spieshak goes around in there along with a number of other cars, bringing out the caution right away. Car on the move early, the 33J of Chris Johnson working his way on the inside lane, picking up a number of positions as you see him off by turn number 2, get by Mike Ostrander for position down the backstretch and work his way into the top 5. Scott Duell with the battle for the lead, going to go to the inside as Coffey and Duell come together. Coffey spins it around up in turn number 1 and 2. Then off the restart, cars starting to work their way up, including the 27 of Robert Bublak Jr. as well on the outside lane, trying to make something happen. Couple of Bear Ridge regulars in the house. Adam Pearson, as you saw before, and Jason Gray working their way down the back straightaway as Gray would take that spot away as they continue to work their way up to the field, including point leader Jeremy Pitts and the 2 Perillo Services cars, Derek McGrew and Tim Hartman Jr. Meanwhile, Cody Blue currently holding on to the number 2 spot, brings it through, but Chris Johnson looking to get him on the inside lane. He'd take the runner-up spot away down the back straightaway and set his sights on race leader Scott Duell. Chad Edwards working his way up along with Tim Hartman Jr. off at turn number 2 as they would continue to fight their way up through the field. But back up at the front, Jason Gray going to get by the 173 of Cody Blue. And meanwhile, battle for the lead going to ensue as here comes the 33J of Johnson working to the inside. These two would head through heavy lap traffic here before this one was over as Scott Duell will continue to lead this one in the closing stages. As Duell gives a shot to the 14X of Floyd Billington to get him out of the way as Johnson will close in off at turn number 4. Final lap, they both split Mike Tholen and work their way up off at turn number 2. Johnson gets the nod on the outside lane trying to take it away, but Scott Duell says, I don't think so, and takes home the Mark Hughes Memorial. Chris Johnson would have to settle for another second-place finish. Connor Cleveland would finish in 3rd, Jason Gray 4th, and Cody Blue would finish in spot number 5. Other winners on the night in the Pro Stocks, it will be Brandon Amy, Limited Sportsman going to Jack Lehner, Street Stocks to Damon Anderson, and the DMA USAC Midgets to Adam Pearson. When RPW comes back, we'll show you some 305 sprint action in Middletown, and we'll reveal this week's NISCA Performer of the Week. Keep it locked here on Race Pro Weekly.
Out here, seconds mean everything. That's why, in here, we work so hard to shave them. When a second matters, science matters. Mobil 1, energy lives here.
Where is it that going green is going strong? Where trees are planted so emissions can be cut down. where clean ethanol blend fuels race cars and waste oil never goes to waste. Where is it that the sun comes up and we put it to work, and the passionate fans are just as passionate about helping out? Where? Nowhere but NASCAR. Learn what small steps you can take to make a big difference at NASCAR.com/green.
If you are a tracker series that would like to be highlighted on Race Pro Weekly, email us at show@raceproweekly.com. Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly as we head back to Brewerton. Some four-cylinder action as Ray Beckler gets into Chuck Pawalczyk, and wouldn't you know it, they'd both be battling for the lead at the end of this one as Pawalczyk goes right around Beckler, and he would pick up the win in the four-cylinder feature event. Sportsman feature event going to work its way onto the speedway as this would be a doozy, ladies and gentlemen. As you see down the backstretch, Glen 4 are going to make contact with a number of cars down the backstretch, and as they work their way off at turn number 3 and 4, it turns out that Dylan Zacharias with a bent front end, as that is completely broken, that would end his night. Another big wreck off at turn number 3 and 4 as Greg Kimball gets tagged around, and Corey Barker, well, he's going to go up and over and almost land on the side, but not quite. As we move through this event, Earl Rudy and Zach Sabaka going side by side for the race lead, as Sabaka going to drive it up to the top shelf as he would be your race leader off at turn number 4, as he would look to have a stranglehold on this feature event, but he would loop it around all by himself, and that would set up the 7N of Glenn Forward way up at the front of this one as he would take home the win in the Sportsman feature event. Todd Root would finish in second, Ricky Yell third, Kevin Root fourth, and Billy Clark would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, the Mod Lights, Jim Bogut would grab the win, and as you saw earlier, it would be Chuck Pawalczyk in the four cylinders. Back to the hard clay we go. We start off with the CRSA feature event, and he was panicking up in turn number 1 and 2. Wow, what a ride. We move to the end of this one as Tyler Jarzembowski would pick up the victory in the CRSA Sprint Car feature event. On to the small blocks now. It would be Tyler McKee leading the field to the green in that number 19 machine, working his way up into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. Cars get together down the back straightaway, just about everybody and their brother. And off of the restart, Zach Fabricka will continue to take over the race lead in this one as cars get together down the front straightaway as Gary Edwards looking to work his way up through the field as well. Here comes the 17 of Brian Crummell. He's going to get by Edwards down the back straightaway and look to fight his way through into turn number 3 and 4 as the cars continue to scatter down the front stretches. Here comes Tommy Meyer right on the back bumper of Bob McGann and going up into turn number 1 and 2. Meanwhile, working their way through the corner, Joe Falanga going to get tossed into the turn 3 wall, and that would give you some trouble on the racetrack. And off of the restart, Fabricka having some trouble holding on as here's Tyler McKee to the outside lane looking for the lead down the back straightaway. He would nose out ahead, and here comes BK Speed, Brian Crummell, and Matt Janiak right there as well, looking for the runner-up spot as they drag race down the front stretch. It wouldn't be long before Crummell would move into spot number 3 with Tommy Meyer looking to follow right behind him. Crummell then working on Fabricka for spot number 2 as he would look to grab that away, and he would, and now set his sights on your race leader, Tyler McKee. Crummell working his way now, trying to get to the top side as he works his way up into turn number 1 and 2 on the inside lane, and it wouldn't be long. Crummell going to the front of the field, and that's 17Z, but Tommy Meyer looking to follow right behind him as he would get by McKee for spot number 2. They continue to work their way through now as Matt Janiak and Gary Edwards would go side by side down the back straightaway in this one, and now the battle for the lead shapes up even more as Meyer to the inside of Crummell looking to take that spot away. Final time off the corner, checkered flag would be out, and it would be Brian Crummell picking up the win in the Charlie Loader Memorial. Second would be Tommy Meyer, third Bob McGann, fourth Gary Edwards Jr. and Shane Jablanca would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Randy Sweetman going to grab the win in the Sportsman, and as you saw in the CRSA Sprints, it would be Tyler Jarzembowski. It's now time for this week's New York State Stock Car Association Performer of the Week, and with his win at the Brewerton Speedway, it goes to Chris Heil. Heil is now eligible for the Performer of the Year award given out at the end of the season. That's all for this week's show. For the latest news, results, and photos, check out Race Pro Weekly online at www.raceproweekly.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So for myself, Bobby Chalmers, Fast Eddie, Scott Morlock, Amber Chalmers, and everyone that helps put Race Pro Weekly together, thank you for watching this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.